I've got an awesome artist that we're going to be interviewing him. If you don't know who he is, he's worked on Star Wars comics, he's worked on Spider-Man comics, he's worked on quite a bit of stuff in the comic industry. He has his own channel overseas for the kids, how to draw, which I wish we had more of that stuff here in the States. I'm going to bring in Will Sliney to talk about, how he got into art and his love for Star Wars, Spider-Man, and here we go, guys.
Hello.
How's it going, sir?
Not too bad yourself?
Been busy. I know you've been busy.
Yeah.
You had a little charity tournament you had yesterday, and how did that go for you?
Yeah. Something I never expected to be saying on a comic book podcast, but I scored a goal at Goodison Park for Everton.
Nice.
For a Premier League club in a charity game, of course. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. Like one of the best things was like it was all broadcast and my kids were at home watching the game and they got to see me score and stuff and they were jumping around and screaming and stuff. And it just is kind of one of the amazing things that comics has brought my way, because that's literally how it happened. The club found out I was a Spider-Man artist years ago and got me to come in and to design lots of artwork around the stadium and program covers, and I've gotten to meet the players over the years. So then when they were doing this charity match, which was mainly a bunch of football YouTubers, so very different genre to me, definitely. All a good 10, 15 years younger than me as well. But I was able to play against them, which was good, and it was just genuinely an honor to play in that stadium. Like there's millions of people that would give anything to get to do that. So I feel very, very lucky, and it's thanks to Spider-Man and Star Wars.
Dude, that is so cool. I mean, okay, I'm a big basketball fan myself, and football fan, which is different than overseas.
Yeah.
But if I was able to walk, I mean, mind you, I'm pretty sure you've been to the games and stuff like that, but to be able to walk on the field
exactly.
and kick the ball, how was it taking it in? Was it something that it was like at the moment you didn't realize it was too much to take in, and now it's settling in, or how is it that you reaction total over it?
Exactly, like the whole day kind of felt like that. Like it felt like a bit of a blur, but then at the same time, like when we were brought in and we all met each other in the players' lounge. We were brought down to the dressing room, and like my name was on the back of a jersey. Being in the dressing room was one of the huge things for me, and seeing that as well was fab. But walking on the pitch, because you're not normally allowed onto the pitch, and they do these charity games specifically at the last, like after the last home game has been played, and over the course of the summer, I'm pretty sure they completely remove the pitch and put on new grass. So it's the one time that they allow people to walk on there, because the greenkeepers have a huge job, and it was I've played a lot of soccer and Gaelic football and everything like that, but it was obviously the nicest pitch I'd ever played on as well. So even taking that step, I stopped and I would just put my hand down and I felt the grass and all that stuff. It was just one of the most wonderful days of my life. Definitely.
Congratulations, sir. That's something that a lot of us don't have an opportunity to get things like that happen to themselves.
Yeah.
But to do that, I can imagine how happy you are and everything like
I'll
that.
never forget it. I will never forget it.
Nice. Well, getting back to your comics, the way you said,
yeah, we've just lost all the comic fans now. We've just talked about football for 5 minutes, so they'll have tuned out.
Well, we're of course comics, Star Wars. We're going to talk a little bit of everything, because we got to find out how you came up in the industry and what got you into, of course, so people can know, like, you started drawing art and it went from there to illustrations. But young Will, you had mentioned, this is the second time we've done this recording because my computer crashed, and I do apologize. But you talked about that you started at a young age drawing, and you just fell in love with drawing at that point. And your parents, helped you. And when you're talking about before too, is that it's different over there with art schools and stuff that compared to here. It's not as big as it is here, that there's a lot of art schools here and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah. And it wasn't something that I ever thought could be a career, because I couldn't see anyone else around doing it, especially comics. But that didn't stop me, loving drawing Spider-Man or Star Wars or whatever it was, and I would always do that purely as a hobby. And then it was when finding out that those jobs existed. I was in college at that time, and I was doing quite a general course called multimedia at the time, which had a small bit of illustration, but I had lots of like filmmaking and website making and programming and all that kind of stuff. But clearly, when I was inside there, it was the drawing stuff that I liked the most, and all of my lecturers could see that too. And I just attacked it from that age. Then, really.
Nice.
Mm.
And then we were talking, and you mentioned during COVID, you started doing a drawing every day and talking with the kids and stuff like that on YouTube and stuff like that. And it grew,
Yeah.
so fast that you weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
And then you came up, from that perspective, kids sending in drawings to you and asking you, how was it taking all that coming in so fast? Like,
Mm.
what did you do? How did you adapt? I mean, to
Yeah, good question. Because that adapting was, and even just like comprehending what it was quite a huge thing at the time. Like, so basically, what happened was the first day everyone was sent home here in Ireland from school. My wife is a teacher, and we knew everything was shutting down. Like the very first lockdown day, which seems like, it's almost hard to remember how much of an alien concept that was to the whole world. It had
yeah.
never happened before in all of our lifetimes. So literally, I was just like I have a kid here. We had a second one on the way, and like people are just going to be minding their kids all of the time. And they'll all be stuck at home. So it's a perfect time for kids to draw. So I figured I put up a drawing of Spider-Man, and I basically said, "Show me what you got. Show me your drawing of Spider-Man." And I kind of was expecting one or 200, and before I knew it, like I was getting literally tens of thousands of drawings in
Wow.
every day. And at the start, I was trying to reply to everybody, just because it's someone's taking the time to do a drawing, and especially kids really, just saying well done, it means so much to them.
Oh, it does.
And like my phone was literally just going like if you break down 10,000 messages in a day, where each one is a new drawing, it's literally nonstop, like completely nonstop. And then that quickly evolved into doing, a YouTube stream, which was huge. And then literally straight away, the national broadcaster here, RTE, they were great. What they did is because the kids weren't in school, they basically set up a TV show that was teaching kids. So they would have like the maths teacher, the geography teacher, all this kind of stuff. And they asked me to be the art teacher. And I just bought this very camera in Black Friday before it, in the November before, thinking about doing some YouTube stuff. And all of a sudden I was making TV with it. And I kind of just put together a few episodes. And then that quickly turned into, they expressed that this could be something really good. It could be its own show. Because one of the things that really happened in the pandemic is that people remember that kids just love to draw. And
Yes.
we all grew up with art shows on TV. I don't know what it was like in the States, but it certainly was over here, whether in Ireland or in the UK, there was all of these great art shows. And that has all just disappeared for years. So so we got this huge opportunity to bring it back, both here and then with a show called Storytellers, both in the UK with a show called Draw with Will. And all of a sudden, myself and a very good friend of mine, we were a two-man production company handling so much stuff, getting to bring in and work with really, really great people that, whether it was directors or, director of photography or set designers or like all of this stuff, it was just a wild experience. It was amazing.
So getting back to what you mentioned about storytellers, guys, if you didn't know, go to YouTube, check out some of this stuff. He got to work with some great actors, comedians, and wrestlers. Here's just a few. I watch BBC stuff, and
Mm,
I love shows from overseas because I don't know, I just love it. Even though they're just 8 episodes to 10 episodes, just depending on the series.
yeah,
Like she was great in Doctor Who. I fell in love with her in Doctor Who, and I know she's a huge comedian overseas.
yeah,
How
yeah.
was it, like, literally getting to work with her? Like, did you present her with this project, or it was like they asked her, or how did it go with this, getting her involved?
No, it's our job to get the cast, and thankfully, Jonathan, who I work with, is very good friends with a bunch of actors, and Ashling in particular has been with us for all of the seasons of Storytellers, and it's almost it was almost as surreal as playing in Everton, doing a scene with BAFTA winning actress Ashley P. I was like, what am I doing here? I remember in my school nativity show, I was kicked off. Give the lines I had were taken off me, and I was made to be like the donkey or something like that. I can't even remember what it was. So just fabulous, and all of them were so nice. All of them really wanted to do, because they're so used to doing these huge shows. Like, so Ashling is in Doctor Who, and she was with Paul Rudd in that Netflix show
Yeah.
where there was Paul Rudd had a clone, and when you go down through the cast, like they're all superstars. Like, it's like we had Becky Lynch and Sheamus from the WWE. Like, we had Laura Whitmore. We had like all of these huge people giving us their time, but essentially they did it because they wanted to be involved in stuff for Irish kids, and nice educational stuff as well. And they all kind of gave up their time to do it, and it was just we were so humbled by it. Like, it was amazing, and it really brought so much to the shows as well. Like, every scene that Ashling is in, so Ashling plays that character Ohm, which is an ancient Irish rock essentially, and she's hilarious in it. So it was fab.
And then also too, like you mentioned, also Becky Lynch and Steph. I mean, how was it? Because did you direct them on when they were on the
Kind of,
show, or
yeah.
so now just being a comic book artist, now you're a director to a point, which you've never done. How was it directing these guys to read their lines, and of course it's how was that
Yeah, yeah. Well,
process?
when Seamus did it, I was in the voice booth with him, and he was just there, and his character was like this big, big loud Viking, which was awesome. And like, I just would catch myself looking over, and he's inside in the booth, filling the booth up, giving it the lines. Like, this is just amazing. Like, I'm used to seeing this guy win the WWE Championship. I went in then afterwards to take a photograph with him, and he just like literally picked me up and put me on his shoulders and stuff. And I was like, this is just like again, it's
Wow.
just another lovely experience. So one that came essentially from comics again. So yeah.
So they, knowing that you just didn't do that, but you did Spider-Man and Star Wars, were any of these guys into Star Wars and asked you anything for any pieces, possibly like, hey, can you draw me a Vader? Can you know,
No, actually, no, nothing like that has come in. I guess they're just so big and busy and into their world. Like, like Becky, she's been writing this massive book and everything like that as well. And like the WWE superstars, especially, like, they're on the road the whole time. So
yeah.
they're so focused. So literally, it was a case of, how can we fit you into the studio? When can you do it? When does the WWE tour happen to be swinging this way? That kind of thing.
Wow.
Or like, do you happen to be over, and is there that 1 hour slot that we can get you in the voice booth or whatever it is? So they were brief sessions, to be fair, but they were amazing.
Dude, that is so cool. I mean, Becky Lynch and they're both, Stefan, are so huge here in the States as well for wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm a wrestling fan too, to an extent as well. I can't say I'm a hardcore wrestling fan, but I love
Mhm.
wrestling. Um, and knowing that you get to work with these phenomenal wrestlers
Yeah.
is so cool. And I look back now and I'm like, growing up as a kid, we don't think, when it makes you think back, like in school, when they ask you like, oh, where do you see yourself in 15 years? They ask you that question as a kid, middle school, elementary. I mean, you don't know what to write. Like, you don't picture
Yeah.
some say, okay, I'm gonna be a astronaut or a fireman. If you would have told, young me that, hey, 20 years from now, you're gonna get to talk to comic book artists,
Yeah.
actors, voice actors, I would have probably been like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, none of this was made up back then. It's
Yep.
a whole new world. We're in a whole new world.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, exactly. And anyone can. There's more abilities to do things than ever before, no matter where you're from, which is what I really, really like. So, I think that way about my job, drawing comics from a little fishing village in Ireland. My parents, my grandparents, all the ways back like were families of fishermen or whatever, you know. So like, you know, it was a bit of a left career turn to do comics, but it just shows you like exactly like you could like the whole scene of podcasting, whatever it is, wasn't there. I just played a match against, you know, 10 YouTubers who play FIFA, who have like huge careers and literally millions of followers from playing a soccer game on the PlayStation and streaming it. You know, it's mad. It's great.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a great new world, and I
Yeah,
am so stoked about being able to interview you. I'm over here in San Antonio, Texas, which is, of
yeah,
course, it's 3:20, my time PM,
yeah.
and you, it's 8 or 9 PM, right?
Just after 9. Yeah,
Just after 9. So back then, we would have never been able to do stuff like this,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's so cool.
yeah,
We were talking earlier before the show started about a famous library up there
yeah,
over where you live, and we were talking about how parts of it were taken for the Star Wars
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And if you guys aren't familiar with this, if you want to give a breakdown of this Trinity
Yes,
Library,
so this is Trinity College. It is up in Dublin. It's one of the most famous, I guess, colleges in Ireland, and that's its library. And I bet you straight away, Star Wars fans will be like, "Oh, that looks familiar to them."
yeah,
Even in the case of like, if you look down the aisles where they have the busts of the different Jedi, are pretty much in the exact same spot as where they were in Trinity, and that was the inspiration for it, which is really really cool. But we like it's funny, like we've gotten to a point now in Star Wars where like they shot so much of the stuff in the latest movies down in the Skelligs, which was where Luke Skywalker retreated to, and like it's pretty much exactly the same as it is in the movie, you know. So they're starting to find Ireland from films and movies more for whatever reason, which is cool.
well, because there's so much greenery here in the
Yeah,
states. We've taken over the land so much. There's so many buildings. It's hard to
yeah,
find anything that beautiful to film off of. So that's why I feel we have to go overseas to record some of this stuff because we don't have that anymore because we've taken over majority
yeah.
of the. But
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
great.
Well, to have it as green as us, there needs to be a lot of rain. So there's pluses and minuses. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I've heard it rains a lot over there
yeah,
at
that's what
times,
makes the
and
grass
so
green.
but that's so cool that you guys have that there, and you can actually go take a
Mm,
picture while you're there and all that. That's the
yeah,
cool stuff.
yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
fans, getting back to Star Wars, if you didn't know, he worked on the rise of Kyle Ren, and he got to draw Luke, in everything. So, mind you, was this of course was pre-movie, right? So you got to see and come up with some of this stuff from what they gave you, I take it?
Yeah, so the first episode of the first issue of this came out 2 days before the Rise of Skywalker movie came out. So we were working on this before. I pretty much would have had the fourth issue wrapped or almost wrapped by the time the movie came out. But the whole idea was to work with the team at Lucasfilm, to give flesh out more time to the story of Ben Solo, which was such an amazing thing to do. Like I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And it felt like when we were working with it, like it was such a huge connection to the Rise of Skywalker and to those characters, and we really got to there was a lot of trust put in the medium of comic books as a way to tell a story and to really get inside someone's mind and to get to do that and show the journey of how we went from Ben to Ren, is what we always say. It was one of my most favorite experiences in comics. Definitely, like I love that book. It's one of my favorite ones.
Nice. So getting back to that, I mean, I'm pretty sure you saw the trailer of Alkalite just dropped recently,
Yeah.
and we got a piece of somebody's helmet with the red lightsaber. For me, my thoughts, doesn't the helmet look like the Ren helmets to an extent? That's just my thoughts. I'm just, you
I'll
know,
leave that one out there.
that's one thing about me. I just
I
hypothetically
actually
guess.
haven't seen that. Is that from the second trailer? I haven't seen the second trailer yet.
Yeah, second
So
trailer. So
okay,
you just get
cool.
a
I must
back
check that
piece.
out.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
get a back
Okay.
piece. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I think Oh, no, it looks like it has a kind of a smile or something at the front
Yes,
as well.
that's the one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That helmet was awesome because that helmet turned up in the Terrifying Tales Lego adaptation, and Christian Slater played Ren in that, which was awesome.
Yes.
And the helmet kind of becomes the MacGuffin of the story, which is quite cool. Having to design that and seeing a little story built around that was awesome.
I mean, you got to do some of that cool stuff. I mean, like, okay, one of my pieces that I like from the pages that you worked on was this piece. Like, for some apparent reason, I always love, even though the black stood for Darth, which meant you were dark side. But when Luke wore this outfit specifically in the green lightsaber in Return of the Jedi,
Yeah,
to me, that was one of my favorite outfits that he wore through all the
yeah,
movie. But that's just
yeah,
my
yeah.
opinion. But,
Yeah,
you
that was
know,
a cover for Star Wars Insider, I think it was. I never actually got to see that in print, unfortunately. But that was really, really fun to do because again, it's like turning the camera just off to the side and seeing something that you didn't see in the movie, but it was there, you know. So yeah,
yeah.
no, he probably
S
wasn't just standing there in the middle of the road lighting his lightsaber for the laugh, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, you've done Spider-Man too. I mean, this, like,
Mm,
you also got to work on Spider-Man.
mm.
And not just that, you've done some DC work as well. And if people didn't know, he actually got a statue created off
Yeah,
his characters.
yeah,
How
this
was it?
is wild to me. Yeah, yeah, this is amazing. This is by Prime One, who like are like the best of the best when it comes to statues. I still haven't this. It still isn't out. It's nearly out. Actually, I think in the next few months. But so it actually happened when I was working on Spider-Man 2099. That's how long ago we worked on the concept for it. So they approached me about doing something with Batman Beyond, who obviously was kind of there's a similar feel to them, I guess. You know, if 2099 is to Spider-Man, this would be what Batman Beyond is to Batman, and then what just starts out as a couple of drawings and all of a sudden it's this like it's this big, like it's a huge statue. And like I remember just coming up like, oh, how cool would it be if he's essentially like leaping out of his car and going flying and stuff, and then like figuring out how much can we show of the cockpit and all of this stuff. And we kind of had to, like, I had him kind of actually quite symmetrical at the start, and then they had to figure out a balance in a way to kind of bring the movement and everything into it. And then what happens is it gets passed over to their sculptors and their ZBrush artists, and the level of detail that they can bring to a sculpt is just an art to itself. Like, it's amazing.
So, I mean, you've been on a roll. That's all I can say. From being able to work on that and getting a statue made of your art. I mean, a lot of us growing up, we don't picture any of this stuff. Like, it's
Yeah,
just, and it's crazy, especially to me. Okay. I love a lot of stuff. So I love Star Wars too, but I love
yeah,
art. My thing is the art thing. And then also I'm a big Doctor Who fan.
yeah.
And it's just so cool getting to see, like, my goal is to go and I like taking pictures for where scenes are taken. So
Mm.
I would love to go where a lot of the Doctor Who stuff was filmed and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but do you being able to, so going back to the anniversary just passed, May the 4th, Phantom
Yeah.
Menace came out. So where were you when the first time it came out in theaters? And what was your thoughts? Like, were you in line like everybody else, of course? And
Yeah.
how
What year was it? It's 25 years ago. So
would have been
1999.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would have been it would have been the year of my what's called leaving cert exam. So these are the big exams that you do to get into college.
Oh, dang.
So, and to get your placement in college. So, and if it was out in May, it essentially was 1 month. It actually was right. It would have been right at the start of those exams. Jeez, that's wild to me to think of that. Yeah. So, but I def so I would have been. I definitely wouldn't have been queuing to get in because would have like it's that is a time when you study the most of like your entire, I guess, academic life in Ireland or whatever. But it was Star Wars. I was there like the opening day or whatever it was, whenever I could get in straight away. So I don't remember. I actually don't really remember going to the cinema to see it for the first time, but I went to. I remember who I went with. I remember going a few times, and I do remember the other ones. Then I was in college for, so well, it was every 3 years then, wasn't it? I was in
Yeah.
college for episode 2, and then episode 3 would have been, I guess, when I was out in the big bad working world or whatever. God, it's, you know what? In some ways, I know 25 years ago is a long time ago, but like in other ways, it isn't. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what were your thoughts on Darth Maul when you first saw him pop on the screen?
Listen, I love it all. I'm still a huge fan of the Phantom Menace. I always have been. I always kind of understood the idea behind it, and I adore all of the Clone Wars cartoons as well. And Darth Maul is a real, like, Darth Maul to me is a pure sketch from a concept artist that goes straight onto the screen. Like so Ian McKay that designed him, and like what he drew is what that character is, which is just amazing. And it just worked straight away. It worked so well. And like, he has that great reveal when he takes off the hood and everything like that. And everybody knows who he is. Oh, there you go.
Nice.
I might be giving away some future stuff that I have to work on with this guy beside me here. Yeah, no, like it's like what a character, and all the way through that. I think that's the thing about the prequels. There's so much art. Like the art books for the prequels are my favorite Star Wars art books, because they just basically, the Star Wars world was like this before the prequels, and then after the prequels, it was like this. They just got to design and built out and fleshed out so much stuff. So they were essentially universe building as concept artists. They were like designing races, planets, feelings to places, different styles of vehicles for different styles of places, and different looks of machines for different eras and everything like that. And it is I think it's the biggest kind of, in one way, artistic achievement in Star Wars because of how it did that, and then interestingly, the sequels, if I call them that, the latest ones kind of, tried to shrink that back down again, like, and now all of a sudden that's kind of springing back out again, with the TV shows and everything that's kind of coming out of it. And of course, as we go over here to the High Republic, which is awesome. So
Nice. So getting back to that comic, and of course, number one, if you guys didn't get to pick up a copy, here's one of them, one of the covers. So how was it being able to draw the characters like Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, the fight scenes that were in the movies in different angles? How was it
yeah,
for you being able to put that onto paper?
yeah, lots of fun, lots of kind of characters that I haven't gotten to do before, and Qui-Gon and especially Obi-Wan were really high up on that bucket list. I've gotten to draw Obi-Wan years and years ago for like a Clone Wars thing, but this is my first time having a proper crack at him. And if you've seen the book, there's a little kind of a time jump towards the end, and I get to draw him and Anakin in that kind of Clone Wars style, which is like, I love that era of them. I love those two as a duo. They're my favorite two in Star Wars, Obi and Anakin. And like from there in episode 2 all the way through the Clone Wars up to the Revenge of the Sith, like to their essentially their battle, which I think is an incredible scene, Star Wars scene. Like I love all of that. So to get to do that was awesome. Qui-Gon, just the greatest face in all of movies with Liam Neeson, just from the side, like the way his brow and his nose just come out so much, and then they gave him this little kind of a goatee which comes out as well, so he's got such a crazy profile. All that stuff was great to do. And then it's kind of excuse me, like there's a weird balance with when you're working on Star Wars projects, and it depends, on the book that you're doing and the look that you're kind of going for. And I think I mentioned this to you before, like when I worked on Solo, which was the adaptation of the Solo movie, like my goal wasn't necessarily to draw it like the movie, but it was to draw Harris, or the character of Han Solo, in as many little nods to the way he moved as Harrison Ford and stuff. So I got to have a lot of fun doing that. And then at the same time, I got to replicate that with Kylo Ren and like pass those poses down through generations and do it that way. Like there's always kind of a different thing in a different Star Wars book. I was working on the Galaxy's Edge books. It was about making sure that the environments absolutely matched the environments in real life because you could visit those places. And like I spent ages, like when I first started working on that book, like I got to like I built out this big massive 3D model of the entire park, basically just from what I was like seeing online and the way that they were showing like the previs hand built models of the place. And just because I wanted to work really well, because then when I was over there for the opening of the park, the first thing I saw literally was a kid holding up the comic page that I'd drawn, comparing is this shop over there, and like just finding the spot where the thing should have been taken from. But I had to draw that before it existed, so that was amazing. And so then it's a very long-winded answer, but like to get back to the Phantom Menace, then because what we were doing was we were showing extra stuff that happened outside of the movie as well as the through line of Anakin's story. We would kind of like show the story and then like move away, then show the story and move away. So the idea there was to make it feel like you were watching the movie, and then all of a sudden it drifted away to something else, and just kind of combining it that way. And how, what shots do you make look like the scene in the movie as if you're watching it, and what shots do you do to make it feel like, oh, we're getting something new here. They're talking more, or they're looking at things from a different angle. Like there's actually a scene in it where one of my favorite things to do was it's where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are talking about Anakin, and they don't realize that Anakin can hear what they're saying. So we actually flipped the camera angle around from the way it is in the movie. They're just walking in the foreground, and Anakin and Arthur in the background, or whatever it was. And we flipped the camera angle around to get that from Anakin's perspective, to specifically show you that you're not supposed to read this scene as if it is in the movie. You're supposed to realize that Anakin is hearing that Obi-Wan is saying that, are you sure about this, kid? Like everyone might think it's a bad idea, or whatever, So lots of fun things that you don't necessarily do in other comics, if that makes sense. And each book has been very, very different with that kind of in mind, So yeah.
No, it was a good read. I liked it. I love the art. I love the one page that you were talking about. Of course, it's kind of hard to scan an image, of course, but the page that you were talking about is this page right
Mm.
here. This one is, I
Yeah,
loved it. It's just a
that was
perfect
fun.
pose. Yeah, and it's so cool. That's what I love about talking with artists, is because it's your imagination that you're like how you would want to see this done. And of course,
Yeah,
you're going along with the writer as well. And they kind of have to like you show them, they come back and tell you different. Like, hey, can you change this? Can you change that? But this one I felt was more you, because you're just continuing a story and
yeah,
doing
and
it.
yeah, sorry, exactly. And that scene was essentially meant to be, his mother's dream vision for him, So like, which essentially means draw him looking like he's really cool, and draw him with the person who's looking after him. So yeah, that was fun. That was
Nice.
fun.
That is so cool. And getting back to what we were talking about, the celebration, I came across some cool pictures, and you were kind of reminiscing as well when pre-show. This is so
Yeah.
cool getting the the Star Wars Ranch, Skywalker Ranch, the
Yeah, when the
event
Phantom
they
Menace came out, this
yeah,
is
everybody
seems like
dressed up.
a different era. Is that before the Lord of the Rings or after the Lord of the Rings? I can't really
I'm
remember.
kind of thinking it's probably right before, because
Yeah,
Elijah
possibly
Wood,
was.
because he
Yeah.
kind of looks a little bit younger. And
Yeah,
then of
yeah, yeah.
course
Mad.
we we got Lucas, of course, here with the hands. And guys,
Yeah.
if you're
God,
you're listening on if you're listening on YouTube podcast, go to YouTube, check it out. I got photos up here. But yeah, I
Hanson.
heard it's hard to get a
Amazing.
picture with Lucas.
Well, not if you're Hanson, apparently. So yeah, that was already at the point where Hanson were starting to feel old for their gig.
Yeah. And then of course Paul Rudd. I mean, dude,
Looks the
this dude
same.
does not age.
Yeah,
It is so crazy. And then of
yeah,
course the famous Ryan Reynolds.
yeah. Look at that. Look at that schmig. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
and then this one, I like this one because this one is James Marsters.
Oh wow. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Little did he know he was going to be a comic book superstar.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have another piece that I had showed the last time in the last interview. So you grew up like me, loving Transformers, Thundercats, and all the She-Ra, all those characters. Um, if you had an opportunity to draw an IP, because right now Transformers is coming back, they're huge right now. Transformers is doing big. Thundercats just launched in Dynamite, and they're doing huge. If you had an opportunity to do, I mean, even Silverhawks to me has not come in there yet, but I was a big
Yeah.
Silverhawks fan.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
w-
yeah.
what would character would you like to draw, or which one
Oh,
of
it's
those
He-Man.
characters?
Straight
He-Man.
away. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. But my house is called Grayskull. So that'll answer that question. So massive
Nice.
fan. Yeah, huge fan of all things Masters of the Universe. Like even the latest, there was the Kevin Smith cartoon which came out, and Tim
Yes.
Sheridan, who does a lot of great comics, was involved in that as well. And then there was the animated show, which was for a younger generation. And I kind of it was when it came out, it was too young for my son, but I basically bought all of the toys and hid them away because I was like,
Oh
I'm
wow.
showing him that when he's a little bit older. So like every couple of months, a new action figure was like, oh, I just bought this in the shop because they were gone. Would bring them down and show him. So like he now has his like that. Actually, the Castle Grayskull playset from that new kids Netflix show is one of the most incredible toys I've ever seen. So like it's amazing. Like he's doing all of the battles now that I was doing when I was a kid, and all of a sudden I have to be Skeletor and all of the baddies and stuff. So as he plays all the heroes and Arya, my daughter, as well. Like it's awesome.
So since you mentioned that about the toys, I noticed you had a Hot Toy Darth Maul.
Yeah.
What other figures do you collect from Star Wars?
Yeah, I've got a good few. So I have a Star Wars hot toy collection here and a Marvel Avengers one here, and I kind of have stopped myself getting them because it almost
Running out of
becomes
room?
too much. Yeah, and they're obviously they're expensive as well. So I've got a good few. I have I actually have interestingly I have a bunch of prequel trilogy characters over here and some regular era here, and then I've Kylo Ren is the only one that I have from the latest ones, just because I wanted to get something to mark the book. But there's a few from there. Right, I'll take a picture and I'll put it up when the podcast comes out. Actually, so
Nice. That's cool. And that's the thing. Everybody has, their collection that they have.
yeah,
Hot Toys is killing it. I mean, they're doing
yeah,
so many cool figures. They
yeah,
just did, Star Killers, figure that's going to be coming out
yeah,
pretty soon,
yeah.
which
Like
looks
if
pretty cool.
they, I would lose it if they did a Ren figure. Like that. That's the thing. Like to get one of your characters, now you kind of need to have them in a movie, I guess, for it to be a hot toy. Or a video game. But yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome.
So a trailer dropped a little bit about a week ago. So we're getting a Darth, what do you call it? I brain fart right now. Jar Jar, Darth Jar Jar. We're getting Darth Jar
Oh
Jar.
yeah, we are.
So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that series? That to me, I feel it's like a what if, or it's a multiverse that
Yeah,
we're going to
yeah,
be getting. What are your thoughts
yeah.
on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's them having a bit of fun. I can't remember what the name of that one is. It's a Lego kind of like a Lego what if. Okay, what's the name of it?
I forgot what it was called. Worlds
Rebuild the
something.
galaxy or something like that is
Yeah,
kind of what they're saying. Yeah, this is it. Like there's like Star Wars is at its best when it is a place for people to tell stories. Like that's what I always think of it. It's the biggest story sandbox. Like it's this huge universe where like all of these tales can happen in all of these different places. And that's just another way of doing more kind of fun stories.
yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's
Mm.
gonna be interesting. I mean, I know people were that was part of like a lot of stuff back in the day. People talking about Jar Jar being the Darth and
Yeah, yeah,
being able to see him walk down the Millennium Falcon. And it's just
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. It's funny. Yeah, yeah,
So you mentioned that you have Marvel figures as well, and
yeah.
Have you had an opportunity to see the 97 X-Men yet on, Disney
I
Plus?
have one episode left to go. Yeah, what a show! Like that and the Spider-Man show were, the cartoons that were on TV when I was like 12. That kind of magic age where like stuff will stick with you forever. And that was the thing for me because I didn't have that much access to comic books. I would get like annuals or whatever it was in. And like to that, X-Men cartoon ran for 5 years, and it was like every Saturday morning. It was my favorite thing. And then the Spider-Man used to be on when I'd come home from school. And that's what really got me into all of those stories. So for them to pull off bringing that back, giving it the same feel, yet essentially aging it up for all of us as well, is a huge accomplishment. So I hope it essentially sparks a revival of that whole universe. I know they're hinting at Spidey as well. Like if that came back, it'd be amazing.
Oh, no, it would be in the kind okay, I'm a big I will talk through your message later because you haven't seen the last episode.
Yeah,
There's some
yeah.
Easter eggs in there you're gonna like, and
I've
I
seen
kind of
I've seen I couldn't avoid the Mary Jane one.
okay, that
Yeah.
was huge. But anyway,
Yeah.
it kind of hints like, okay,
Yeah,
did he
exactly.
is that the real Mary Jane or is that still
Yeah,
did
yeah,
he
yeah.
find the real Mary Jane? So
Yeah,
it
I
leaves so many
rewatched all of
questions.
those again recently enough, actually. That's funny. Yeah, yeah.
No, that's why I think me and you hit it off very well talking, through text and
Yeah, into the
email.
same things. Yeah.
Yeah, it just we have the same love for this type of stuff, and I
Didn't the fake
really
Mary Jane like turn into water and like
yes,
disappear? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Is that where they left it? That's where it ended, was it?
yes, and then
Yeah, okay.
it was left where,
What a
Madam Web
cliffhanger.
yeah, Madam Web goes, we're gonna go find the real Mary Jane or something," and they
That's it.
left it
Yeah.
right there
Yeah. Wow.
and
Hey.
never fill in I think if they have the writing that they're doing so well for this, I think it would be great for them to continue it in that
I mean, and
aspect.
it's Spider-Man, like, so it's a no-brainer. So yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, I really appreciate you taking the time and coming back to record, because my computer crashed. But this was a great time getting to talk to you about, being a geek and being an artist and working in the industry and getting to work on Star Wars. Is there any future projects of Star Wars that you may be working on that you can announce what it is, but you're
Yeah, no, I certainly am. I am 150 pages into a Star Wars project at the moment, which is wild. So I'm
oh,
so far ahead of it. I'm doing a small little part, excuse me, of another story that's coming out a little bit sooner, which isn't announced yet. And then they've been talking kind of in hints of the next two projects that will happen after that, which is crazy. So plenty of
dude.
Star Wars coming down the line. I balance it out with I'm doing an image book with Charles Soule, The Shrouded College, and the first volume was
Oh
Hell to
man.
Pay, which has been a lot of fun. And The Bloody Dozen has just been out, and we're going to come back now for a third volume with that called the Cold Witch, which is an awesome story. So I'm literally starting that now next week as well. So I'm going to draw that before the next Star Wars project after this already unannounced one comes out. So loads of stuff coming.
Nice. I mean, he's written great story arcs.
Yeah,
He's High Republic.
yeah,
I mean, he's worked in Marvel. He's worked in, in Image now. I mean,
yeah.
if you guys have not read any of his work, he does great story writing,
Mm,
which
very much
I don't
so.
know how he could be writing multiple stories at times. Like
Yeah,
you're
he's a
writing
machine.
yeah, you're
He's a
writing over
machine.
here and then you're writing over here. So you have like two different stories going on. Just
Yeah.
like you guys. Like one thing I didn't get to ask during this interview was, do you do your art in digital or do you do a mixture of both?
Digital, yeah. No, I have my Cintiq right here. Actually, what happened was I was one of the first ever to switch. I moved to Toronto when I finished college back in 2008. I had just started in the industry. I was working for an English comic book company that were redoing Shakespeare books as comic books essentially.
Oh,
So I could either go to Canada and like get a big A3 scanner and like all this kind of stuff, or the first Wacom Cintiq come out. It was a little portable thing, and could just go to laptop and that. So literally, when I landed, it wasn't available in Ireland. I'd saved up money to go and to buy that, and bought it, and had to learn on my feet and switch to digital. And I've been digital ever since, unless it's going to be a page that might be worth selling. And I even do this less and less. Like actually, that Luke Skywalker image you showed earlier is one of the few originals that I have over there. I have a bunch from Kylo Ren, which I'm asked about a lot. Like I got to do. This is thanks to Charles. I didn't know what it was at the time, but essentially the first ever appearance of the High Republic is in a page from Kylo Ren. So that one could be worth a bit if
Hey,
with the whole that side of Star Wars starting, and but mainly digital. Yeah.
sweet. Well, thank you for the time. I got to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, which is this is one of our local comic book stores. Without Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch, helping us with the Star Wars comics, we wouldn't be able to bring these cool contents and know the knowledge of what's going on in the comic world. Um, you know,
I want to go to that shop. That's a great name.
yes, and they
Class.
have it's a franchise here in Texas.
No way.
Yeah,
No way.
and they have one in Austin, Houston,
Oh, okay.
two in San Antonio, but this one's our partnership that we're working with,
Yeah.
and
Awesome.
they're so cool. They do cool events, they do gaming, all that
Yeah.
kind of
Sweet.
stuff. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then but one of the cool things I want to let our fans know is we are going to be working with Voices Against Cancer, and we're going to do a little quick shout out here from a friend of ours that we're going to bring in.
Hi, this is Emily Swallow, and we want to take a moment to ask you to take a look at voicesagainstcancer.org and perhaps donate. It's a wonderful organization that gives kids a voice, and it funds pediatric cancer research and supports families of kids who are going through cancer.
So we want to thank her for doing a
That's
shout
the
out.
armor, is it?
Yes, it's the
Yeah.
armor.
Awesome. Yeah.
So William Simonson came to the States and was at a signing here in the States, and he doesn't do very many appearances here. So if you haven't got his
Okay.
autograph, I got a comic signed by him that we are going to be selling raffle tickets for at the shows that we're going to be here in Texas. So we're going to be raising money for Voices Against Cancer, and this book could be yours if you are a lucky winner.
Well, let me add some stuff to that, and I'll send you some stuff over as well after this.
Oh,
So
dude, that would
definitely.
be so freaking cool,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, this is big because as a kid growing up, when I was 8 years old, I had a brain tumor. So
Oh well.
yeah, so they didn't know at that time frame if it was gonna be cancer or not.
Yeah.
And when they went in and did the surgery, luckily it wasn't, but it was at the point where it was like a ball that was attached
Jesus.
to the side of my head.
Yeah.
So all they were able to do was cut it, and they couldn't take it completely off because it was already attached to the lining.
Yeah.
So doctors basically told my parents, we don't know what's going to happen to him after the surgery.
Oh God.
So yeah, so since I'm able where I'm at now, I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm at a point now where I can give back, and kids in the
Yeah.
hospital need, like you
Uh,
said, they draw, give them stuff to read. So to me, those little things made a difference when I was in the
mm,
hospital. Like they have little
mm.
rooms. At that time, it was just toys, really not comics, but toys and like
Yeah. Yeah.
VHS kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I feel at this platform I have, I can try to help out in some form.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Fair play.
Yeah, so appreciate it. And thank you guys for listening. Go like and follow, and may the force be with you.
Yeah.